Okay, so that's
Oh,
credits.
man. This is so convenient.
What?
That tiny fridge.
The tiny Mountain Dew fridge from Discord.
Yes. Let's get a little.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
There it is. I'm not gonna lie. My trip to get to the gas station wasn't just for milk for the child. It was also for Kickstart. But I've already opened it, so I'll just have to make the sound with my mouth.
Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good, it's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming, and that's right, guys. You're back. You're back for the 52nd time, which means for the first time ever, there is a full year of content from Horrible Gaming Podcast. This is
Whole year.
One whole year. Anybody who's counting, we did miss 1 week in the last year, so actually our actual 1 year probably would have been last episode, but 52 means a year, so 52. In any case, with me is
Neil, a.k.a. Tiny Wizard.
and yes, we are going to talk about games. That's what we're going to do, specifically the Xbox Game Showcase. But before we get into that, we got to do the disclaimers. As per se usual, we're doing this on Zoom. We're doing the best we can, so keep that in mind for quality's sake. We got a little credits to go over. Mark Bell, we appreciate all the original graphics he's done for this show and all the other shows. And then, of course, we have to mention Nick Van Slyter's my brother, who has written not only the theme song for this show, but all of the shows here at OMG. And you can actually check out the first 5 songs of his first ever album, if I can convince him to actually release it, called Red Delirium, by clicking on the playlist Red Delirium on this channel as well.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
It brings us to the top of the show and our very first segment, and we do it every week. We love it. It's Fanteraction. That's where we talk to you guys, the fans. Anywhere you comment, whether it be the Discord, the comments of this on YouTube, the comments on Facebook or Twitter, we try and read them out every week. Right now, Kev Too Tall, he's the man with the plan. He's got the monopoly on the comments, so I'd love it if anybody else out there contributed some comments too. We'd love to hear from you guys. We like to talk to you guys. But in any case, we also decide the horrible arena winner, and we also, ask a question to the fans and answer a question from the week prior. So, Kev Too Tall, tons of comments again. He's back on his game. Right off the bat, though, he is voting for Zach. And I got to say, Neil, he was the only vote this week. Which means my Castlevania takes the win.
Alrighty, then. Well, can't win them all.
Yeah, I know. You've been on a real streak, man. You've been on a real streak. That's the first loss you've had in a long time. So Castlevania Project Legacy takes the cake. And we got to do the crossover one today, and I've got one hell of a crossover. I can't wait to pitch. That's out of the way. Kev Too Tall then says, I'm just like Neil. I'm a bad friend, but I'm damn loyal. Smiley face. I also said I was a bad friend and damn loyal as well there, Kev. Kev Too Tall then says, I think merging Xbox Live and Games Pass Ultimate was inevitable. I just think how they are going about it is all wrong. They needed to make the price parity between the two and then slowly phase out Live. Nobody is going to buy Live at the same yearly price as GPU Games Pass Ultimate when Games Pass Ultimate includes Live. Yeah, I don't know. I think if they're phasing out live, they need to give us some more pricing options for Games Pass and Games Pass Ultimate. They really do. And I'm also bothered that they're not just phasing out live, they're also phasing out Games Pass, like the initial Games Pass. They want you on that Games Pass Ultimate. That's kind of irritating to me. Then Kev Tutal says Kev 2 Action is the best segment of all, referring to the fact that he has dominated the fan interaction segment. He then said twice, Rainbow Six Siege is a games as service. Did we disagree with that? I don't even think we brought up Rainbow Six Siege last show.
I don't think so. Not that I know of. I mean, we were talking about other games of service, but yeah, I know Rainbow Six Siege has been around forever and eternity at this point.
It has, and it's another one, like Ubisoft is really good at those rocky multiplayer starts and then the bringing it home in the end. It's the same with For Honor. That one's still kind of kicking, and that one had a real rough start as well. Okay. So the question we asked, Kev did not decide to participate in it, but it was, what do you think about the replacement for E3 that we've had this year, which is all these little silly announcements and showcases and who's a what's it's. So Neil, what do you think of it?
It's dumb, it's tacky, and I hate it. Next. Like, seriously, even still, and we're going to get into it in the episode, but by the end of the show, they said that line that everybody else did. It was like, oh, stay tuned, we got more to come at the next show. Like, granted, Microsoft was forward with the fact that they were going to have multiple shows throughout the course of the year. So, I mean, but still, those are like trigger words for me now. Like, I feel bad. I scared the ever-loving crap out of my cat. She was sleeping, curled up in a ball, and they said that, and I actively, like, angry yelled at the TV and scared the crap out of her. She jumped and landed flat on her head on the ground and took off.
You know, I angry yelled at the TV as well, but we're going to get to that a little bit later. As far as the way they're doing this, while I don't want to – I think if you wrote down on a piece of paper this plan and you showed it to me in its most purest, simplest form, I would think this is cool. I like this a lot. This will take out of effect all those like weird, super early release dates and maybe a lot of delays because everybody's not trying to shove all their stuff in one thing in the middle of the year. They can do these little shows and show us stuff as they have it ready. Here's the problem, though. They're not actually doing that. They're getting all this hype from these shows, and then they're giving us nothing at the shows themselves.
Right.
Other than a promise for more stuff. And that's really irritating to me. I don't need more of a hook. You're already hooking me with dates and shit. Like, I don't need more of a hook like that. So I personally think the idea behind it would be good, but they're not doing it right at all.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's what it is. As far as the question, I want to ask it to everybody out there. Who's winning right now, PlayStation or Xbox? We're going to be going about the Xbox showcase tonight. We're going to be talking about well, not tonight for anybody listening, but tonight for us. We're recording this late on a Sunday night.
They could be listening to it at night.
That's true. Whatever
different
time it is.
Zones and whatnot.
In the present tense, we are going to be speaking a lot about the Xbox Showcase. We're going to go over it chronologically, much like we did with the Ubisoft Forward. That's what the show is all going to be about. And I want to know what you guys, the fans, think. Who's winning? Who's dominating the conversation right now? Did Sony's one showcase blow Xbox out of the water? Has Xbox countered? Like, what do you guys think out there? I especially want to hear from the PC guys who don't have dogs in the fight, because I think your opinion will be very interesting. Other than that, I think we can move on there from fan interaction there. Neil, what do you think?
Absolutely.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
That brings us to our first talking point tonight. And I got to be honest, guys, the talking points are all going to be kind of merged together until we get to odds and ends, because the talking points are all about the Xbox showcase. This was a super important showcase. This was supposedly the counter to PlayStation's showcase where they released the system. So we're going to go through it chronologically, play by play. We're going to break it down in our opinion, what was good, what was bad, what we liked, what we didn't like. And we're also going to look at a little bit of the post-match and aftermath of what they showed. So right off the bat, they opened with what they promised. They opened with their big hitter. They opened with what everybody expected them to open with, and that was Halo Infinite. They opened with gameplay. They opened with a little bit of story, and kind of gave us everything about it. So right off the bat, Neil, before we get into aftermath and stuff, what'd you think of it? Just sitting there watching it.
It was kind of a roller coaster for me.
Okay.
So they right off the top confirmed the rumors about the grappling hook and the grappling hook stuff that they showed in the gameplay. I was like, yes, absolutely 100%, because I'm very familiar with that from Doom Eternal.
Right.
That stuff, that's great. How you could grapple on and either like pull yourself to enemies or like pull down fusion coils, and then you're hulking a fusion coil and you just hurl it into some dudes.
Right.
Like, it was really awesome. But then at the same time, it's been brought up since, but I'm looking at it and I understand they're trying to invoke the classic Halo, but I don't think they did it the right way. The HUD looked very basic and dated. Granted, this is an early build of the game, so I hope they change it. But like, it didn't scream new to me. And the graphics, again, it's been brought up. The graphics, I mean, they looked okay, but I did not see Series X.
All right. Well, let me stop you right there. Because it's definitely been brought up, the graphics post the show. But personally, I find myself to be good at attention for detail on this, and I did not notice any bad graphics while I was watching the actual demo. So my question to you is that something that like your opinion has changed afterwards, or like in the moment did you think this looks a little choppy? Like, obviously the HUD bothered you, but I mean, like, just the graphics itself.
It wasn't. It's not something that's like, oh, this looked horrible. Like, there were some things that were pointed out afterwards, which we might delve into a little bit later.
Right.
But I'm seeing this, and I'm seeing Xbox One. I'm not seeing, like, they like to run these games on the Series X to. Oh, wow, sorry. To show everybody what this can do to make it look as best as it possibly can.
Right.
I don't know if they were tempering expectations or whatever. I didn't see that and see, oh my God, this is next gen Halo. It just still looked current gen. And that was one thing that kind of stood out to me.
Okay.
Was the fact that it did grab me there. And then, the articles came out later and they did come out and say, like, it's still early on, which is fine.
I think that's kind of a cop-out. I mean, sorry to interrupt, but
no, you're good.
For me, I didn't mind the graphics as much because I'm not a guy who cares that much about the graphics as long as the story is good. Also, I don't feel like Halo was ever going to be their look at the next generation graphics, because I feel like Halo Infinite's been in development long before, they really knew when they were releasing the Series X. So like, while it's coming out with the Series X, it's going to be a launch. I feel like that game was made for Xbox One, and it's just coming out alongside Series X. I feel like some of the games they showed later on in the show were more keyed towards that, like, look at what the Xbox Series X can do, So the graphics didn't bother me that much. I did like the open world. I thought that was a cool change. I think that's
going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting.
It is, but I think it's a cool change. I think it's a real change that needs to happen because the linear stuff just doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't grab people like it used to unless you're like talking those super gritty PlayStation games. And I think Halo lends itself a little bit more towards that. But yeah, okay. So you noticed the graphics. I didn't necessarily think that the graphics were stellar. I didn't think there was anything wrong with them until I saw the stories afterwards. The grappling hook was really cool, and the like throwing stuff that you pull to you was really cool. I thought that showed a real freedom of play.
And it looks like they're going to be bringing back the equipment system as well that they had in Halo 3 from like the drop shield and everything that they had showed. So that's really cool. I really like that system.
Yeah. I mean, we can get into the aftermath too. Obviously, it wasn't being played on a Series X for starters.
There's the stuff that's come out afterwards, like this. I don't even know where to start, because after it came out, like there were a lot of things that they could have addressed beforehand or something. Like at first there were rumors floating around that multiplayer wasn't going to be available at launch, which is like a huge thing. But then they're like, no, it's going to be there. I'm like, okay, cool. And then they were like, oh, well, split screen is going to be back. Why didn't they bring that up? Because that was such a huge thing from Halo 5.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that the biggest thing that I think is going to be interesting, and I think we're finally going to get the be-all, end-all as to whether or not I like live service games, because Halo is going to be a live service game. It's going to be a 10-year platform that's going to be supported.
Okay.
And they're going to be done with numbered entries. They're going to continue the story with regular updates and stuff like that.
That is something I really wanted to get into with you. Honestly, I'm glad you brought it up, because we have had the debate as to what is a live as a service game and what is a games as a service. And honestly, even though this is like we're not making anymore, we're just going to add to this one system. Is that a lives as a service game? Because you and I had discussed that a lives as a service game, the game has to be online at all time and be giving you like constant updates and events. Technically, this game is going to be a single player game that's just added to, with the exception of the multiplayer versus obviously, but like a single player thing that's just constantly added to every so often, which would be more along akin of what Borderlands 3 is.
What I think that they're going to do is they're going to have seasons like all these other games out there and that have the games as service model. They're going to have seasons that are going to come through, and it's going to add events that develop a story. Now, what I hope that they don't do is make things happen because reasons and throw in optional audio logs or text logs that you have to find to read and find out what's going on. That, like, at that point, like, I'll still go back to Halo games for the single player campaign from time to time. Primarily, it's just for the multiplayer. But if that's the route that they take with seasons and just like doing stuff because reasons and make you do all the legwork to find out what that story is, I'm outie, like 100%.
I mean, there's going to be collectibles. It's an open world game. Yeah. There's going to be logs and collectibles and audio files, and those are the kind of collectibles that they're going to be in there if it's an open world game. There's no way around that. I know those need to not be the way to tell the story, though.
Right. That's what I'm worried about. I have no problem with collectibles and stuff. Like, I'll seek out collectibles and stuff like that as long as it's like a side part of the game that complements the actual story, the actual game as it is. Horizon does a good job at that. They have the main story and there are audio logs scattered around, and then you can build around what's going on there at a more micro level. But the games as service model with Halo, honestly, I knew it was just a matter of time. When they threw the microtransactions in Halo 5, I saw them going that way, and they add like seasonal, almost the seasonal multiplayer.
I would much rather games be this way. The problem is people need to do them correctly. But like, I would much rather pay $60 for a game and never have to buy that game again. Like, that would be great. That would be absolutely great. I love that, to buy the game once per generation, and then that game is just added to regularly giving you something to come back to, that's way better. That's way better than constantly buying numbered entries. The problem is that you have to do it correctly. You have to tell the story, and you have to go. You can't necessarily go at it exactly the way you did before, but you need to, like, there has to be a differential between what's happening.
Right.
So like you can't just like you have to have a beginning and an end. And then if you have another beginning, great, but you also have to have another end. Like, you can't just constantly leave people hanging.
Right. And if they do it in such a way to where, like, you can go through, you can play the campaign that ships, and then it's like, okay, well, now you just have a playground open world, and they're like a year or two from now say, hey, the continuation of the story is coming, and then you go through and you start the event that starts that story,
right,
and it follows through and has a real stopping point, and it changes the world as a whole. Like,
right.
That's cool, that's great.
Yeah.
I don't want, oh, this faction is invading, go to this point and do this thing.
Right.
And you do that, and it's like, okay, well, here's another one, but it's the same thing. Nope, just do it. And it, like, drops you a new text log, and you have to piece the story together, or, like, you're reading a whole book. If I wanted to read a book, I'd read a book. I wouldn't be playing a game.
I mean, you don't want it to be grindy, is what you don't want.
Yeah, that's grindy. Like, making numbers go up just for the sake of making numbers go up to max out, that's zero appeal.
Well, this game, I don't think they can do that with this game, because this game isn't about loot. It just isn't. There is no, like, numbers going up on this game. There's no gear score in Halo. So, like, I don't foresee that happening. I don't foresee it being possible for it to happen. You know what I mean?
I mean, unless they just haven't said anything yet about, the possibility of an RPG system.
But that would
I feel like they would have shown that if that's what they were doing.
I was about to say, like, if they would have had to show that by now. Like, they just would have. Okay, well, we've talked about Halo quite a bit. We should probably move on, but Halo was the big first opener. So, next up in the show, I'm trying to think what happened next. This is a little bit farther removed from our memories than Ubisoft was.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try and go in order, but the next thing they showed was, what was it? It was like
wasn't it State of Decay 3?
Yes, it was State of Decay 3. This is the thing that I got excited about. I got super excited. Like, I was like that. I didn't see that coming. That surprised me. And what bothered me the most about it is, like, the Halo opener, we all knew that was going to be the opening, right?
Right.
It needed to be decent. That was what they were going to start with. But the stuff that they really had to knock us out with was the rest of the show. And that was like a surprise, right? That just, like, yes, I want the rest of the show to be this, you know?
Yeah, and I honestly, when I was watching it as well, like, I have no history with the State of Decay series. Right. I know of it, and that's about it. And I saw the trailer and was curious as to what this game was, and then, like, it showed up after the freaking zombie deer was eating a wolf. Yeah. That was like, what in the world is this? A State of Decay 3? I'm like, oh wow. Like, I, who have no history or interest in that series, got excited for a game that, I knew nothing about. And like you said, like, there were no indicators. There was nothing pointing to it. They just came out with this Juggernaut edition.
Right.
And now they're like, hey, guess what? The next entry in the series.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited to see what Undead Labs does. I am very worried, though, that they're going to, like, bow to the collective and change some stuff that I don't want changed. But still, that's all stuff you think about afterwards. In the moment, that was like a surprise, and that was big, and that was awesome. And that's what I wanted the rest of the show to be. The rest of the show was not that, though.
No.
From that point on, they proceeded to show us games that we had already seen or knew about for basically the remainder of the first half, if I think back correctly.
Pretty much. And I actually, before you get into that, I want to pay special attention to Everwild.
Yeah.
Everwild.
Yeah.
That
looks great.
We've seen it. It looks great. It's been announced. It looks cool. And I was thinking that we were going to see some gameplay, but it was another just teaser trailer of some sort. And I think, like, as a general rule, when announcing games, if you're going to show a teaser trailer, the next time you show that game, there has to be gameplay, because like I found myself like frustrated because
I agree, because we still don't know what that game is.
We don't know what it is. You know, Rare has a great history, and this looks like it's leaning into their fun, whimsical end of things, and it looks like something that could be within their wheelhouse. And I want to know what this game is. I want to know more about it, but they're just screwing around. They might have, I don't know, painted themselves into a corner. Maybe, you know.
Well, it's going to be a Lives as Service game. I'm going to stop you right there.
Why do you keep saying Lives as Service?
Games as Service, because you said Live as Service right in the beginning of the...
Live Service. You're saying Lives as Service. Like my life is servitude.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you hear it. I'm going to fire Neil on air in front of everybody for correcting me. I'm drunk with power. Anyway, it's going to be that. It's going to be a GOS, a GAS. It's going to be that. Like, that's what it's going to be, because Sea of Thieves is wildly successful for them, even when it wasn't.
Yeah.
But I think aside from what we know about that, you're right. They haven't shown us anything. I don't know if a double teaser bothers me as much, but what bothers me is the placement of it, because again, this is the counterpunch, right?
Right.
This is the big flurry back at Sony, and what we got was a lot of ideas. That's all we got. We got a lot of ideas and a lot of, like, Everwild was another teaser. We didn't see any gameplay. We didn't get a release window. We didn't find out anything, and that was kind of the name of the game at this showcase. Was no release dates, no release windows, no real concrete anything, not any real gameplay. The only release windows we got were for games we already knew the release windows for.
Yeah, I honestly
even Halo Infinite, which is supposed to be coming out this holiday, you would think we would have gotten a date. We didn't get a date.
Well, I think that the date situation with Halo Infinite,
I know what you're about to say. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be something that's gonna be leaning into the Series X. So people are gonna assume that the date for Halo Infinite is gonna be the launch date for the Series X.
And that's fair, but we didn't get anything concrete here. Like, there was nothing, and that was like that was the start of it for me. Like, it looked really pretty, but you're right. When the trailer was over, I was like, what was that? Like, okay, some people cured a deer on a mountain. You haven't showed me what the game is about. You haven't showed me how I'm going to interact with this pretty world. You haven't shown me anything. There's no windows. There's no nothing. All this could be is like 5 guys in a room just animating this. It might not even be a game, you know?
Right. I don't know. It does bother me that we've got a double teaser, as you called it, because like that's what it is. It's just like, oh, this is still a thing. Like, it just screams to me this thing is a ways off.
Yeah, a real ways off. Like and something else is a ways off, way longer off than it should be, but we'll talk about that towards the end of the second segment. The next thing we get is probably the funniest, highest point of the entire showcase, in my opinion. And it might just be my opinion, but we got the Grounded trailer. Grounded comes out. If you're listening to this, it's out. It came out on Tuesday, the 28th. The audio for this will go up Tuesday, the 28th. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's already out, and you can get it through Games Pass, or it's $30 to purchase. And the trailer was hysterical. They leaned into every criticism anybody has given them. Like, right off the bat, they're like, if you want to play the biggest game, play Cyberpunk 2077 when it comes out in November. And then they were like,
I belly laughed. I definitely belly laughed.
I belly laughed again, though, when they were like, if you want to play the smallest game, if you want to play a game that Obsidian is just not supposed to make,
yeah,
play Grounded. Like, I love that. I was like, way to go, man. Way to go. Like, everybody's saying you shouldn't be making this game because of who you are, and you're making it anyway. I really like that trailer. Unfortunately, it didn't do anything for the showcase other than, like, give us the belly laughs, because we already knew the date for that. We already know, if you're interested, you probably already played the demo, you know?
Right.
So, like, it didn't do anything for the showcase, right?
No, not at all. I honestly, the only other thing that I remember happening in the first half was the announcement for Outer Worlds DLC.
Okay, and that was a high point for me as well. I didn't, like, get up and scream, because if anybody wants to go back and listen to the to 2 weeks ago, I predicted it 100% that this was going to happen. We were going to get a DLC announcement from them. It was going to be a Games Pass exclusive. I'm super excited about that. Outer Worlds was my game of the year in 2019, so it's going to be great. It's going to be a lot of fun. I thought that was a good moment for them. I thought that was a good moment. Again, though, it was just kind of like, it was solid. There was a lot of, like, solid foundation announcements here. Like, I wouldn't have called this a bad show if it wasn't supposed to be what it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what I was expecting from this show, like, this show was the follow-up to Sony's showcase. And I was expecting them to at least show off Lockhart. But they've since said that it's not going to be until August that they show Lockhart. And we have to have prices in August when they show off Lockhart. Like,
I don't want to go into this quagmire, because I'm so mad about the prices. We've talked about it here.
I know.
The fact that we are potentially getting prices for $500-$600 systems, and we're not getting them until 60 days before their release, during a global pandemic where people are losing their jobs and don't know where they're going to get their money, is shameful and atrocious on both sides. So yeah, I agree. We should have had a price 2 months ago.
Yeah, we to kind of broaden the conversation on this show, I feel like to actually have any sort of real impact on Sony's placement where they're at now, they needed something more than just games.
Well,
or even like the games that they showed, again, it was Halo. Like, if they would have the splash screen for Halo whenever they first started is like the Halo start demo, like with the button prompt and everything. I was thinking at the end of this, they were like, and there's a demo available now. Like that would be solid.
I wanted a lot more from the games they did show. I just want to point out, though, like, and I'm not giving them a pass, I think that this show was okay in the fact that if this show wasn't what it was, if this show was last month's show before the showcase, we would be talking about how good a show was.
Yeah, that's
if this was the May show, we would have been like, this is a great show. This is everything we wanted. But it's not the May show. It's the show directly after the showcase when you're supposed to be punching back and you're not. But not to get too deep on the weeds before we talk about some other stuff. Again, Outer Worlds, a great foundation announcement. Then we got a couple of other indie game announcements, one of them being Warhammer, which that one started to get me mad because I'm like, why is this here? Like, I'm glad that a Warhammer 40K game is coming out. I'm sure everybody will like it who likes that. It's so niche. Why do you have it on this show? This show should be AAA punches the whole way through. And if you don't cut it, you know what I mean? Like don't even put it on that show. Like, make the show 40 minutes, you know? Like, you make it as tight as you want, but this needs to be just your biggest guns, which brings me to the thing that made me scream out loud when they decided to announce a Tetris game on this show. Are you fucking kidding me? You brought Tetris Tetris is the thing you're like, let's bring out the big guns. Tetris, like that's the most ridiculous thing. I screamed at the TV. I was like, this is what you're bringing? This is what you're bringing. Sony has freaking Horizon the Second, and you're bringing that. We didn't get any extra footage of Senua's Saga, which we should have. That was another one that's dominating the thing. And then, okay, hold on. What's our time at as I get way into rant?
34 minutes.
All right, why don't we take a first break, because we're about halfway through the show at this point.
Yeah.
And let's just come back. Let's come back with the second half after the break.
Okay.
Do you want to add anything to the Tetris comment though? And then
I actually did have something to say with that. That Tetris, the Tetris thing is odd. Yeah. It's Tetris Effect connected. Tetris Effect is an exclusive for the PlayStation 4. And it's coming to the Series, or not the Series X, it's coming to Microsoft consoles, but the connected version of it is going to be exclusive to Microsoft consoles. So it's like really weird. It's like they poached one of Sony's exclusives, but not really, but only an extra version of it.
Right. It's very strange. It was very strange to be on this show as well. And that's like, that was a big thing for me. Like a big thing for me on this show was I felt like they had a solid 40 minutes and then they just jammed 20 more minutes in it. You're an internet show. It doesn't matter if you're an hour. Just make it 40 minutes. But come with your big guns, because people are going to remember all the weak shit you put out there because you're fighting in a corner, you know?
Right.
Okay, so we're going to take a little break. We will be back for the second half of the Xbox Showcase coverage.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, we're back for the second half of the Xbox Showcase. We're going to keep talking about this. And I think what we're going to talk about now are some solid wins for Xbox. Again, I think the big problem in this is they're just solid wins. They're just foundational wins. They're not really like the big oomph moments that we really wanted from this show. I think that can be said. So to start, let's go with a smaller one. We had another indie announcement, The Gunk, from the SteamWorld people. That was another one that it looks good. I'm not insulting it at all. It's not the wow that we needed.
Right.
I don't. Did you have anything to say on The Gunk, or should we move on?
It was very much a meh whenever I was watching it.
It really was.
It didn't appeal to me in any sort of way, and it's like a 3D platformer, what it looks like.
Yeah.
And that's like kind of my jam. But
it looks good. The problem is you've already hit like 4 or 5 trailers where we're now realizing that this isn't going to be the show we want, you know?
Yeah.
So like at that point, whatever you're going to show us is not going to make us happy, you know? Unless it's those big knockout moments, and there just wasn't. We also got the announcement that Destiny 2, Bungie is kind of partnering with Microsoft again in a small, strange way. So Destiny 2 will be moving to Games Pass in September, and all of its DLC will be available to anybody who wants to play it, including the new one that's coming out. And I know Neil's thoughts on Destiny 2. Destiny 2 is not my favorite game out there either, but this is a solid win for Xbox. Again, not the oomph we wanted from this show, but a solid win for Xbox to have all of these things coming to Games Pass. You've got a lot of players on that game still. Even with it waning a little, it's still a big game in the games as service circles. I think this is a big win for Xbox.
I get it, but with Destiny is one of those games that, like, if you play it, you already play it. Like, I don't know if bringing Destiny to Game Pass is going to bring people in. Now,
that's an interesting point. That's interesting.
The DLC being included, there's something to be said for that for sure. Yeah. So then you can get into the stuff because, I mean, those DLC packs are kind of expensive sometimes. You know?
They are.
So people may have passed on those, so you can get access to those. But in regards to Destiny as a whole coming to Game Pass, I don't think it's really going to be that big of a thing. Isn't it already free to play as well?
It is free to play. I think the big hit to Games Pass is the extra stuff.
Yeah,
and
that like of course, my feelings aside, like you can't discount that for sure.
Right.
But it's just I don't think Destiny was the big get.
I think it was a good get. I think it was something you read about in IGN, and then we talk about on our show in Odds and Ends, and we go, "Hey, good job, Xbox." I don't think it should have been on this show, but I think it was still a good foundational win for Xbox. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't. Again, this show, it was kind of this show to me. The story of this show was these are all great, good announcements. None of them are what we need from this show. Like, this is a good show. It's not what you needed to perform with, you know?
Yeah.
Which does bring me to my next actually big announcement, in my opinion, and that is New Genesis for Phantasy Star Online 2. Great graphics showing here. Great kind of early gameplay with it. That trailer to me was everything the rest of the show should have been, and wasn't. Even if you're not into that game, that was a big win for Microsoft, bringing that game over to the States and getting that one almost exclusively. So to then be bringing over basically the sequel, which that's kind of murky waters. I don't know if we need to talk about that right now because I have read a little bit more on it. But the trailer was great. They showed a lot of gameplay in it. It was really graphically pretty as well, which we needed more of that in this. I really liked that trailer. Even if you don't like that game, I thought that was the kind of stuff we needed from the rest of the show as well.
Yeah.
So with that said, we, I guess, need to talk about the big one at the end.
Before we get to the big one at the end.
Okay.
I just wanted to, there was a point.
If I missed anything, please let me know.
The only one that's coming to mind is the Medium, which looks like it's going to cater to that Silent Hill crowd. And it looks very interesting for sure. And the fact that it's rendering two worlds simultaneously. I actually had turned to Kayla and said when we were watching it, that was one of the games that I had pitched. that idea, I had pitched that for...
I think you did, yeah.
The Horrible Arena at one point.
Yeah.
Or the early incarnation, the fantasy corner.
Well, in fairness, Star Wars Squadrons was a game I pitched against Logan back in the Horrible Arena.
Yeah.
So they're stealing our stuff.
Yeah. But there was a point in the show where they had said that from this point on, games that you'll be seeing will be premiering on the Series X. It was not until 4 or 5 days later, something along those lines, that I understood what they meant, because even while we were watching those, I'm like, so does it mean that it's coming to Xbox first and then going to PlayStation? Like that was the vibe that I got from it. And it wasn't until many days later that it was like, oh, these are going to be the games that are going to be running exclusively on the Series X. So that time frame of when it then becomes like you need the next generation of console. And I think that little thing there, just the wording on it, they could have worded that better. If they would have said Series X exclusive, that's concise to the point. We know what you're talking about. But that weird wording, it was confusing. I actually spent like 2 trailers worth just debating, trying to figure out what it actually meant. Maybe I'm dumb.
Right.
I don't know, but like that's the vibe that I got from that one.
I don't think you are. I didn't realize that till the end. And honestly, we're getting to something I wanted to kind of close with a little bit, but might as well. I'm a little bit super irritated by a lot of their messaging lately. Phil Billy was going to type up a comment. I'm sure he just got sidetracked and didn't get to, because I talked to him earlier today when we were working on some stuff. And he had said one of his theories as to why the Xbox One X is going away is more of the, they're trying to push people into the Series X instead of they're trying to walk back the play anywhere sort of thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have agreed with that if I wasn't post to this showcase and knowing that about the trailers. Like your marketing on this, your ideology about this has been so clear from the beginning. We don't care. We want you to play our games. We don't care where you play them. Eventually there will be games that you can't play on the old ones, but for now, everything's coming to both. And that's something I've loved about it. They've stuck to their guns. One thing about this show that I think really damages them is I felt like they kind of walked that back a little bit. I didn't necessarily think that way with the Xbox One X going to the wayside because they still had the One S. But after those console launch things, like you're showing us games we can't play on the old systems. You just told us there weren't going to be games we couldn't play on the old systems. You've been telling us that for 2 years, that there aren't going to be any games that we can't play on the old systems for the first year or two of this system. And now you're already showing us games that we can't play on the old system. I was very upset with that. And I felt like this was a straight up kowtow to pressure from Sony. I felt like they were playing chicken with Sony on this and they blinked.
Yeah, I mean, unless it is telling that these games that are in development, that's the time frame that they're looking at is 1 or 2 years. And when we get into that last and one more thing, big one.
Oh, so mad about that.
I mean, let's just do it now. We knew it was coming. We absolutely knew it was coming. We didn't need an announcement trailer. I would have liked a trailer that kind of
showed us something.
Not even gameplay. It's cool. But you guys could have just done some world building and some stuff. Like the second they said, "Oh yeah, we have one more thing," and they started it, and there was the image of the sword in the ground. I was like,
Fable.
"Okay, so it's
here
Fable.
It is. It's Fable. We got it. We finally got it." And then they said Playground Games presents, and I'm like, "This is it. This is Fable." And then they showed Tinkerbell getting eaten by a fucking frog. That was fucking it. Are you serious? No release window, no date, no gameplay, no nothing. You've been working on this for fucking 5 years, and all we get is Tinkerbell getting eaten by a frog. I was actually upset about it.
So, I mean, the whole getting eaten by a frog thing, I mean, that's Fable. Fable's always been like that. But all we got was basically what we got when Elder Scrolls 6 got announced. A panning shot of you see the castle in Albion right there up in the hillside, and Fable. Like, okay. I mean, like I said, we knew that this game was coming. We didn't, I wasn't expecting gameplay.
Yeah.
I was expecting the announcement, and I'm glad that they did actually show it, because frankly, had they not shown Fable, I think that would have been alarm bells going.
Yeah.
I mean, if they wouldn't have taken the chance to show that. But I think at the same time, them showing it as they did, as the and one more thing, and not showing anything other than literally a 1.5-minute announcement trailer, I think that also did a little bit, I wouldn't say damage, but it didn't do them any favors.
I think it actually did damage. And that is something that I can't believe I'm about to say. I never thought I would say in a world that the first Fable trailer for the new Fable game shouldn't have been released, but it shouldn't have been released. They should have held it. And I think that was another blink. They were like, everybody wants Fable. We got to show them something, even though we're way behind on it. So they just put together this stupid freaking Tinkerbell Toad thing. Like I feel like this, I could take an hour out of my time and do a live stream and show you pictures of things that you might like, but like, that's what this was. We didn't want to see that. We want to see the next Fable game. That's what you need to show us. And for you to have been as secretive about this, not you, but the Xbox.
No, me. It's me. I'm responsible for the Fable Wonder.
For Xbox to have been as secretive about this game as they were, to only show this, like I was like, this is a nightmare. This hurts you. This hurts you because everybody was like, they're being secretive because they've got it almost done or they've got it really far along, and we're gonna see just an awesome, mind-blowing trailer. You let everybody down with this, you know?
Even if they had kept everything as it was, but if like that ferry was flying through like a bustling town so we could see like people and stuff like that, or like flying like day changing to nights, anything, it really was. It was a disappointment. Like normally the announcement for Fable, I was expecting that when it finally came, I was gonna like jump up out of my chair and like scream yes, finally. But like we had said, like we saw the shot of the sword and then Playground Games. I'm like, okay, so they're finally announcing Fable, and like that was it. That was it. That's as far as it went, and
it was a waste of time, and they shouldn't have done it. It hurt them. I still maintain they should not have showed Fable. If that's what they were going to give us, it should not have been at this showcase. It just shouldn't have been at the showcase if that's what they were going to give us. Not after all this hype. They just shouldn't have. Like, they just shouldn't have been there. I do want to say one thing we kind of skipped over, and I think that's because we both think it's going to be great, is Obsidian's Elder Scrolls game, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Avowed.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. You know, I love, too, that Obsidian is basically like every time Bethesda's like, oh, Elder Scrolls is a way off, they're basically, hold my beer. I'm going to make a better Elder Scrolls game. Like, they've already made a better Fallout game. Now they're going to make a better Elder Scrolls game. It's hilarious to me.
I heard the quote somewhere that they ate Bethesda's lunch with Fallout, and now they're going for an Elder Scrolls dessert.
Right, exactly. And they're like, man, that pudding looks good. It's funny to me that they just keep making these games that like Bethesda can't seem to make right, and it comes right like the Outer Worlds came right on the heels of 76, which it's like they completely departed from Fallout. Everybody hated them for it. And then they were like, hey, look at this. It's a Fallout game that you wanted that Bethesda didn't give you. I feel like Elder Scrolls is like 5 years off. So they're like, well, we're going to give you the Elder Scrolls games you want. You know, they're definitely eating Bethesda's lunch, and they're doing it well. Like that's the thing. Like,
definitely.
they're way better than anything they've shown. But I think that covers the Xbox showcase. I think we can go to odds and ends if we're not running too late.
Yeah, no, I think we'd be all right.
All right, pause.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
That brings us to odds and ends, one of our favorite segments. The segment we was going to skip, but we just can't seem to skip it. Basically, we collect little stories that don't really make enough sense to do as a talking point, and we just kind of rapid fire through them. So, Neil, why don't you hit us with our first one?
Well, one I am very excited about. G4 TV might be coming back.
I knew you were going to put this. I had it on my odds and ends, and I crossed it out because I knew you were going to have this one.
Yeah. So during a Comic-Con at home stream, they had this commercial basically for it. Is a scrolling shot through a warehouse and Pong being played in the background, and then it glitches out and shows the G4 TV logo, and the line "We never stopped playing" shows up on the screen, and 2021. So I'm about that. I hope they don't like show nothing but reruns constantly, because that was always infuriating.
Bring X-Play back, baby.
Yeah, like
bring back X-Play.
Gaming podcast format is a thing now. I mean, her, us, but like, do it like people like it. Do it. Bring it back.
Hey,
just
G4, call me. We'll make a show on your channel.
They don't want G4 TV to be canceled again.
Oh, we're better than that. Jesus, Neil, come on. Yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm interested to see what they do, whether they make it like an internet network like IGN, or if it's actually a channel of some sort. I mean, I feel like we're in the age of streaming, so I would be surprised if it's just a cable network, you know?
Right.
All right. So my first one, the next Ubisoft Forward has been announced for September. That will be the next time we get to hear from Ubisoft on the rest of their games. So yeah, there's that.
What are they gonna show?
Well,
that's the thing. Like,
I'll tell you what they're gonna show. I'll tell you what they're gonna show right now. They are going to show Gods and Monsters, whatever that has become.
Right.
They're going to show Rainbow Six Quarantine. Everything that we thought that they were going to show at this one, they're going to show.
If that's the case, then all right. Because, I mean, like, Gods and Monsters is one that I'm, like, keeping an eye on.
Yeah, me too. That'll be before Watch Dogs Legion, so we'll probably get more gameplay from that. Although, I think we've seen enough gameplay from that. I'm ready for that game to just come out.
Yeah, I think it would be kind of a waste of everyone's time if they showed more Watch Dogs. And if they showed more... Yeah, if they showed more Assassin's Creed also.
They're both going to be there because neither one of them will be out yet. They're going to want to keep the hype going. They'll probably show some more on Hyperscape too, even though that got a pretty crappy review. Only a 5.0 for IGN, and IGN usually scores. Yeah, they usually score high, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, it's rough. IGN is usually very nice on their reviews, and so 5.0 is rough.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was my first. What's your next one?
Apparently, Brie Larson has voiced her desire to play Samus in a Metroid movie, if one ever were to be made, to which I would be okay with, I think.
Yeah, she's really annoying as a person.
I mean, yeah.
She's just very irritating to me. So I don't know that I'd want to see her in the Samus role. And I actually didn't like her very much in Captain Marvel. I feel like she kind of phoned it in. I wouldn't want somebody to phone it in.
Well, from what I understand, her role in Endgame was actually filmed before her role in the Captain Marvel movie, from what I've heard.
Yeah.
So because of that, she had to play an already established character and then make those establishments in the standalone movie.
Movie.
If that's the case, like, whoa, that's a tall order for anybody.
That is a tall order, and I don't necessarily think she's bad. I mean, I liked her back when she was doing comedies. Yeah, I like her. She
definitely is annoying, but
now she seems to be very. I don't know. She just rubs me the wrong way. I'm not sure why. So yeah. Well, my next one, some weird stuff came out about Ubisoft, which is not good in the whole wake of their sexual harassment scandal. It apparently came out that they were originally going to make Odyssey and Origin. Well, they're originally going to make Origins just be the female protagonist. And then there was like a report that like somebody said that like women don't sell. And then they added the character. I do want to say one thing on this. And while I think women sell just fine, I have no problems with women's in characters. I love the Tomb Raider games. I do in games like that where you have like heavy role-playing themes. I like to play whatever I want to play. Like I like to play a dude, you know, because I'm a dude, you know. I guess what I'm saying is like options are never a bad thing. I don't think it's right for them to have said that like women don't sell and that's why we got to add a dude. But like, I would rather be able to have the choice, I guess.
See, I have no problem because like, again, going back, this is the second time I've mentioned Horizon just because I'm playing it again, I guess. With Horizon, I've got no problem that Aloy is a female, and it actually helps in establishing her and establishing the story because there's a low-key sort of, oh well, you're a woman so you can't take down that huge monster, like our greatest tribes haven't been able to, and she's like, haha, watch me, and then you go in and wreck shop. And
well, I like that. I really like it too when they present women as kind of like crafty and intelligent, and that's how they bring down things where guys just punch it until it dies. You know what I mean? Like, I love that kind of like Let's do this the smart way. And I have not played Horizon Zero Dawn. But for me, like, if the story warrants just one gender, one character, I'm okay with that. Like I said, I don't want to play Tomb Raider with a dude in it. Like, Lara Croft's the Tomb Raider, you know?
Right.
Like, and she's very, like, I love Lara Croft in those games. They're great. But for Odyssey, it's just such a, like, open world role playing game thing that I never felt like it was a bad thing to have the option to play the dude or the girl or the girl, you know?
Options are cool.
Right. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm in no way saying that, like, games just about female protagonists shouldn't exist. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I don't feel like this game was hurt because it also had the option to play a boy, you know?
Yeah.
Nonetheless, if their reasoning behind that was ladies don't sell, I think that's insane. If you look at any games out there, like, there's tons of women in games right now and they're selling just fine. So that was my second one. Yours is up.
Well, that'll bring me to my last one. So there are rumors that kind of open the door to speculation as well. Rumors pointing to a God of War 2 reveal at a Sony State of Play in August, which I could see if that is true and they're going to show God of War 2 in August, when Microsoft has already said that they're showing Lockhart in August.
Yeah.
I think Sony will end up coming out with a price. I think that's what's going to end up happening. They're going to be like, hey, here's that thing that everybody knows is coming, but we're going to show you, we're going to show it to you anyways, and use that to leverage them dropping the price, because we're going to assume at this point, the assumptions it's going to be a $500 console.
Right. Well, that's an interesting theory. I want to see prices, period. And until somebody gives me prices, nobody is, and that's bothering me.
And I think finally I can say with some level of confidence, as ridiculous as it is that we've waited as long as we have, that August is going to be when we get our prices, because we're showing Lockhart. Microsoft is going to leverage it at, like, okay, yeah, here's the $500, because at this point I'm going to assume that the Series X is going to cost $500, because they haven't really shown us anything otherwise to make it be more.
It's going to be 400. Going to be 400. I'm telling you.
Series X?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they'd make, but
look, if I get 500, I get dinner. So I don't care.
I know.
500 is fine.
And like
but
I said,
I'm saying it's going to be 450.
I don't think they'd go that low. I mean, I
think they are.
I would be very happy to buy you dinner for being wrong in that.
I think they have to go that low at this point.
Yeah,
because that would
what I was alluding
out of
to.
The water. Yeah,
that's what I was alluding to, is the fact that they haven't shown us anything really that says, "Hey, this is actually worth it to me." But if they're showing,
absolutely shameful that we're not finding out prices till August.
Yeah, if they're showing Lockhart, they're probably going to be like, "Hey, here's our cheaper one." They can't say, "Here's our cheaper one," and just not say how much it is.
Right.
It's just dumb.
Right.
So
if it's a price skew, it's got to be there. Yeah.
And they've already, Sony has kind of said some things about it. I guess a bonus odd and end. A week or two ago, there were rumors floating around that pre-orders were just going to magically go up for the PlayStation 5.
Right.
And they've since said, hey, that was just an internet thing. Don't worry. We are going to let you know ahead of time when pre-orders are going to go. Right. So I'm thinking that August, I mean, they can't wait any longer anyways.
I mean... yeah, they better not. My final one is a quick one. Rocket League, the wildly successful competitive race car soccer game, is going free to play. So even if you don't have Games Pass, it's in Games Pass already. Yeah. But even if you don't have Games Pass, it's a free to play game.
That'll be interesting.
It will be. It will be. So that's it for odds and ends. I think we can move on to the Horrible Arena now.
Alrighty.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
That brings us to the main event, the moment you've all been waiting for, the end of the show, the Horrible Arena. What is the Horrible Arena if you have never listened before? Well, first of all, listen more. Second of all, it is a segment in which me and Neil will pitch you a video game. We will pitch the developer of the video game, the title of the video game, and what the video game is. We will pitch this game based on pre-existing criteria that we declare each week, taking turns so that we each have home field advantage. Now, last week, the criteria was set down as a crossover game, meaning characters from two different games in one game. You know, your Street Fighter cross Tekken or that sort of thing. So with that said, I have won the Quantum Coin Toss, which means I get to go first.
Take it away.
I know. Building up to it. All right. I didn't come up with a name, which is the problem.
I don't have a name for mine either, so it's okay.
All right. My project name is Sewers of Rage. And basically, what is it?
Oh my God.
Oh, you know what's coming.
Oh, please be what I think it is.
All right. So this game is Streets of Rage crossed with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
Here's what happens. Shredder, Mr. X, they finally get together. They're plotting, they're scheming, and they come up with a plan to get their worst enemies to fight each other. So the first half of this game, you pick either a Ninja Turtle to play as, or you pick a Streets of Rage character to play as. Now, if you're playing multiplayer, that's fine, but you got to pick from one or the other team. Now, as you play through the first couple of levels, your first levels will differ from the other team's first levels until that fateful time where we do what happens in every crossover. The two teams come together and we brawl it out. Axel Stone taking on Leonardo, Blaze Fielding taking on Donatello. We got Max Thunder taking on Raphael. We have Adam Hunter taking on Michelangelo. That's right. We have one huge four-person brawl. Absolutely epic. At the end of it, of course, they realize they've been duped. The other team is not the bad guys. They're groups together. And at that point, you unlock the other characters so that you can play through the other half of the game with the other characters should you want to. In any case, you progress through the second half of the game together, taking on the enemies together until you reach Mr. Big and Shredder. This will definitely be developed by .mu and Lizard Cube, the makers of Streets of Rage 4, because they are the kings of the 2D brawler, in my opinion. One thing I really want to key in this game, one feature that I've always wanted to see in a 2D brawler that will be present in this one is, regardless of how many actual players are playing, all of the characters are there in AI form. So if you're playing Raphael, the other three turtles are there being played by AIs, helping you out, fighting with other enemies. So there is always a full team no matter what. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, that's my game, Project Sewers of Rage. Over to you, Neil.
I'm going to say right now, officially, I'm going to vote for yours. 100%. Like, that's an official vote. So just go ahead and tack one on top of whatever you end up getting this week, because like right. that's totally, that's good as hell. So mine is going to be called Project Galaxy's Edge. So come to find out, the Covenant have stumbled across the planet Zebes, the space pirate homeworld from Metroid, and they have joined forces to go throughout the galaxy and destroy everything. Mother Brain, having learned of the Halo rings, sets out and tries to take those under space pirate control. Well, of course, Samus and Master Chief are already on the case as it is, and they run into each other and figure may as well team up. Master Chief needs some backup, and Samus really needs to learn to get some help sometimes outside of a tiny space baby that sacrifices itself. But yeah, the crossover between the two of them, I think both of those worlds fit well together. They gel perfectly. and that would absolutely be done by 343. While Retro did a very good job with Metroid Prime, the early Metroid Prime shooting controls were kind of archaic and are in need of an update. So I think 343 could give them that. But I think it would open up a lot of interesting opportunities for multiplayer in co-op, story, campaign. I don't think there would be much of a deathmatch to it, though. They tried that in Metroid Prime 2, and it didn't really catch on very well. And I feel like the balancing between the Halo stuff and the Metroid stuff would be a little bit wonky. So, yeah, that'll be it.
That would be a lot of fun, man. I could see like the co-op. One person has to play Samus, one person has to play Halo. You could even add in the like Metroidvania stuff where like they have to work together with their abilities to get to the other place. Although I gotta say, I would have picked a neutral developer and picked id Software so that they could both just be grappling hooking around the whole time.
I could see it would work all right with id too.
Yeah. Be a lot of fun. That's a good game. So there you guys have it. You got Project Galaxy's Edge versus Project Sewers of Rage. What are you guys going to spend your money on? What would you go to the store and purchase if you had to pick one? Let us know in all the places that we are about to tell to you.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Those places are very simple. But Neil, do you have any plugs since this is the end of the show?
Still doing Streets of Retro, and
it's like Boo. Everybody will get it now.
Everybody gets it now. And then OMG Dungeons as well.
That is right. We actually, I think, have to record more of that soon here.
I was just thinking about that.
All right. For me, you could check out everything the channel has to offer. And you can, of course, check out us on Facebook at Old Man Gaming DH, on Twitter at Old Man Gaming 9. You can join our Discord. The link is in the description below. Knight645 has actually done some new updates to it, so you actually get a ranking for commenting, which is nice, promoting people to comment. And my wife is on there, so troll her hard.
You're gonna regret that. You're gonna regret that extra hard.
So with that being said, everybody, as long as you guys keep watching and listening, we'll keep making them as long as they have to be. We'll see you guys next week. So for this week, you're still okay to help me move someday?
Yeah, I just need to know what day.
Sorry, man. I'm trying so hard to get you.
I know, you're cool.
Basically what happened was, I don't know how much I've told you, but originally the lender sent our information to the wrong lending company. I told a buddy of mine, I was like, I would call them up and I would be like, you need to fix this. Until you fix this, I'm going to call you every hour and scream fuck at you. Like, that's what's going to happen. Like, every hour on the hour, I'm going to pick up my phone. I'm going to dial it. You're going to pick up. I'm going to be like, is this fixed? You're going to say no. And I'm just going to go, fuck you. Fix it. Fuck. Until you hang up the phone and fix the problem. And when you hang up the phone, you better believe I'm going to start a little stopwatch, and I'm going to call you back in 60 minutes and scream fuck at you again until this fucking problem is resolved, you fucking pieces of shit.